Yo, welcome back to another episode of Character Highlights. If you're wondering where my face is, I decided that for Character Highlights, I'm just gonna talk because it's a lot easier for me to record videos if I don't have to worry about making a weird face or any of that stuff, so we're just gonna do voice. Today, we're gonna take a look at Rose. We're gonna talk about her skill up order, her strengths, her weaknesses, what content she's good in, what gear you should be using on her, as well as the artifacts that work best on her. So for skill up order, for Rose, it's a bit different. It really depends on what you want to use her for. You can skill up her skill 3 or her skill 2 first to -1 cooldown, depending on how you're going to be using her. Her skill 2 is a cleanse. Cleanses 2 debuffs and gives a shield and a bit of combat readiness. So if you want to use her in like Banshees or in Raid for her cleanse, then I'd recommend that you skill up the skill 2 first to the -1 cooldown. Whereas if you want to use her in PvP as a secondary combat readiness booster or even a primary combat readiness booster, then I'd recommend that you skill up her skill 3 all the way, because that one applies to everyone as well as getting the -1 cooldown. You care more just about getting the extra combat readiness though. I wouldn't worry about skilling up her skill 1 at all because her skill 1 only gets more damage. It doesn't get a better chance to taunt, so it's not really a big deal. So for her strengths, she carries a lot of utility in her kit, and it makes her really good in Guild War, Raid, and PvP, and some hunts, specifically Wyvern and Banshees. For PvP, she's valuable as a combat readiness booster because she has both combat readiness boosts up to 25%, and attack buff all in one skill. For Raid, the fact that she has cleanse, attack buff, and taunt all in one kit make her extremely useful. She's basically a baby DN. She does a lot of what DN does, the attack buff, the shield. She just does it in a much more toned down fashion, as well as the fact that you can use her to carry Aureus. For hunts in Banshee 11, she's so good because she has, like I said, the combat readiness, but most importantly, the cleanse and the attack buff. All of these are really good things. She can carry an Aureus to help you not die. For Wyvern 11, the fact that she's a defense-based tank means that it's a lot easier to keep her alive. You just run a lot of defense on her, and then you bring like an Angelica or a Cades or Tamarin, something that heals based on their own HP, and then they can keep her topped off a lot more easily than they could a really high HP tank. For weaknesses, she's pretty easy to kill if she gets death broken. Also, if you have a DN, she becomes a lot less useful. Like I said, she's basically a toned down version of DN. So if you already have a DN, you probably won't be using Rose. For gear on her, I would recommend that you go speed set for your 4-set. I don't think there are really any 4-sets at the moment that complement her as much as speed set. Even if you make her tanky, at the end of the day, because she's a combat readiness booster, she's a cleanser, she's an attack buffer, you want her to be fast, even if you don't go speed boots. For 2-sets, I recommend defense, HP, resist. If you do want some effectiveness, I don't know that I'd recommend a hit set. I would go for effectiveness in subs. Only her skill 1 has the taunt, and she'll be using that a fair bit, so I really wouldn't stress having that effectiveness too much. So for percent stats, on the necklace and ring, I would go HP and defense. Doesn't really matter which one is the HP or the defense, but I don't recommend going double defense on the ring and the necklace because, as I said earlier, if she gets death broken, she's really easy to kill. Also, defense can be broken, whereas HP cannot. So always at least have one HP right side percent item. For boots, I recommend speed unless you're tanking her in Wyvern 11, in which case I'd recommend defense boots. For artifacts, it really depends on where you're going to be using her. For Wyvern 11 tanking, I'd recommend Envoy's Pipe or Holy Sacrifice. The reason I don't recommend using Egg of Delusion or Noble Oath is because defense has diminishing returns. For example, if your Rose has 1500 defense and you use a maxed out egg, you only get an approximate 2% change in damage mitigation. Getting 1500 defense isn't that hard on Rose, and that percent damage reduction would decrease the higher your defense. So the higher the defense you have, the less benefit you would get from the egg. And if you're using a Noble Oath with a max defense bonus, then it's a 5% change. With the Envoy's Pipe, if it's maxed, you get a 20% damage reduction if you're below 50% HP. I think it's pretty easy to see why those don't compare. So for general PvE, I'd recommend Aureus, Halag Lance, or Candlestick. Reason being for those, Aureus helps keep your team alive, also gives your entire team a better defense. Halag Lance helps give Rose turns, and Candlestick helps her cycle cooldowns. Cycling cooldowns on your attack buffer / combat readiness booster / cleanser is pretty important. It's gonna help you out a lot. PvP, these artifacts don't really change, except maybe you could use an Elbrus Ritual Sword to keep up taunts. As far as synergy, Rose doesn't really have synergy with anything except for the fact that if you focus on defense as a survival stat, she's a lot easier to keep alive. Also, I'd beware anti-synergy, so like using a Rose and a DN, it's a wasted slot because they already do essentially the same things, so I would avoid using characters like that with Rose. Anyways, that's all for now. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, as usual, please like, comment, subscribe, show your boy some love, and I will catch you wonderful people next time. Max out!